Good morning, I'm Ms. Deline, and I'm here with your semi-daily, almost daily Sacred Path card. It's the deck that I'm pulling at the moment, and it's a good one. So, today's card is Peyote Ceremony. New abilities. So the attributes of this card are reclaiming skills, acknowledging the talents now emerging, employing new tools to conquer life's challenges, embracing your potential, and using the new gifts being offered. The challenges are using these new abilities with courage, risking setbacks while learning new skills, letting go of old tools that did not work, discovering how new talents will best serve you, developing the new talents fully, and acknowledging the self's right to use the abilities to take charge. In drawing Peyote card, you're being asked to transcend the fears, limitations, destructiveness, and imprisonment of some facet of your life. Think about that. It is time to find a new path to the crack in the universe where you may reconnect with the raw creative force of the great mystery. This is in no way to suggest that you are to take power substances. To do so without the reverence of ritual and prayer or the guidance of a medicine person is sheer foolishness. The opening that you are seeking is to be found in another way. Through your own path, there will be an opportunity presented. And I'll talk more about that later. The Peyote card is putting you on notice to become aware of the opportunities that will allow you to discover something new about yourself, to acknowledge the gifts that you have not fully developed, and to use those gifts as a magnet to pull the raw creative energy from the crack of the universe to you. It may be time to discover the infinite possibilities that are presented in the now. If you have somehow felt that you are being imprisoned, look at the ideas that you have bought into that represent the ball and chain. Good words. It may be time to let go of stifling relationships that bind your creativity and limit the use of your talents. Anytime you are accepting limitations as a way of life, you are burrowing deeper into the quicksands of suffocation and self-imprisonment. If you have ever asked yourself, is this all there is to life? You know what I mean. The key is in asking yourself how you can rediscover the skills you already have in order to create a new path. In acknowledging the potential beyond the crack in our personal universes or realms of experience, we can see that beyond limiting thoughts, there is always a new cycle of truth awaiting us. Through that new cycle of rediscovered abilities, we may further develop our talents by using them to aid the planet. Seek the change that will add to your present understanding of life. Acknowledge the steps that brought you to that new knowledge, that new knowing, and be willing to experience all growth with joy. The freedom of seeing the whole of humanity without judgment is the first step to oneness. If all pathways can be honored as being equal, we may accomplish the whirling rainbow that allows all races, all people, to contribute their gifts in peace. Look to the place where your heart has held judgment or limitation, then begin to remove the blockages that stop you from living with the abilities that represent your true nature. The Peyote Ceremony card and the crack in the universe promise a world where all will live as one. I love that. Each will contribute their truth to the whole as expressions of the true selves who mirror the facets of great mysteries creation. In all the magnificence and glory of the original source, all life forms have the mission of using their gifts to the fullest. This is the essence of the sacred path, to find, develop, and use the gifts of the heart. It is now time to trust that you matter and that you are needed to complete the divine plan. The great mystery lives in all things, and the denial of any ability or talent makes the whole incomplete. This is a powerful card, as are most of these, I'm finding. And it's about, it's the new abilities, but it's also the abilities that we have that maybe we're not using. So maybe it's about finding a new way to use these abilities, to go into your heart and see what is it that I'm not using, what is it that I'm not doing to create the world that I want to live in, or to make the world that I live in a better place. So the one part where it says, have you ever asked yourself, if you've ever asked yourself, is this all there is to life? You know what I mean. So in my own story, at one point in time, I was married and I was running 3 businesses, a very busy restaurant, actually 4 at one point. A very busy restaurant. I was publishing an international magazine and doing all the work around that. And I had a dance studio and I ran a rock and gem store. And I did, except for the restaurant, the rest I did all by myself. I was the only employee. People had no idea. You know, this international magazine that went all over the world, they thought, you know, I had employees. I wish. Anyway, I felt like I'm a creative, free spirit, right? I am a creative, free spirit. I want to write. I want to create beautiful things with my hands. I want to spend time out in nature with my feet planted on the mother. And here I was running back and forth, and running 3 businesses. And I felt like a hamster on a wheel, you know that saying, the hamster on the wheel. I was running and running and running and never getting there, never catching up. And one day I thought, I didn't ask if this was all there was to life. I thought, whose life is this? This is not my life. I am living somebody else's life. I had allowed my husband to influence me, and I was doing for everyone else, not for myself. Whoa! So, step forward 10 years, I'm living my life. Of course, it didn't take me that long, but really long story short, I am living my life, and I have been for a few years, right? I am creating. I am at one with creation, with the Creator. I am doing what I feel called to do. I'm able to answer my calling because I don't have to answer the phone 40 times, asking questions about the restaurant or waiting on people or whatever, right? I am living my life. And probably about the time that this started coming together, you know, part of what helped me was I do shamanic, I work with shamanism concepts, shamanic journeying. And so this peyote ceremony reminds me of that. And the peyote, or the mescalito, there's other substances in South America, the ayahuasca, things like that, that people use to, they feel like it connects them to Great Spirit. They use these substances to get into an altered state. But it's a sacred thing. It's something that you do with a medicine person, a shaman, whatever you want to call them, someone with that sacred knowledge, someone that can lead you through this ceremony. And it is a ceremony. It's not, oh, take a substance and have an experience. It's a ceremony. It's a sacred event. It's sacred medicine. And that being said, I've never done it. I've just never been called to do it, because I can do it I can get into that altered space and travel in that realm, the spirit realm, or whatever you want to call it, with just the drum. I can get into that altered awareness. I can go to the spirit world and get information and bring it back. for people, for myself. I can get in touch with power animals. I don't need a substance. Nobody needs a substance. It's just that you need the training, and you need the, and some tribes, some belief systems, they use that substance, and that's okay. But they know what they're doing. So I really want to point that out. They know what they're doing. So I've heard people tell me that drugs, not peyote or mescalito or ayahuasca, but like cocaine, made them feel, oh, so close to God or whatever. That's it's something false. It's not natural, right? If you have to depend on a substance to connect you to your higher self, to connect you to the source, then that's not, that's a temporary whatever, I can't say that it doesn't work or that it isn't true or whatever, but to me that's a false thing, because if you are dependent on something else to get there, then you don't have the ability to get there yourself. And you do have that ability. You're just not allowing yourself. You're just not getting the help that you need to get the training that you need to, or trust in yourself, in order to make that connection without a substance. What I have found is that people who use substances, people who smoke a lot of pot or who drink or who take drugs or whatever, they're doing just the opposite. They are breaking that connection. They are putting up a wall between them and Great Spirit, a wall between them and the source. They get these, like I've had people use pot for spiritual whatever, and I'll ask them, so you use the pot and you had this spiritual experience, you talked to your spirit guide or whatever. Oh yeah, and it was wonderful, it was beautiful, and I said, so can you do that without the pot? Well, no. Well, then how do you know it's a real experience, right? How do you know it isn't the substance giving you that experience? How do you know it's real? Oh, well, I never thought of that. So when you use a substance, how do you know what experience the substance is creating, and what experience is real? So why use a substance? Why not go direct, right? And that applies to everything in life. People who depend on their minister to give them the religious answers. People who have no faith unless they go to church. What's with that? I always thought faith was a personal thing. It was my connection to the Creator, right? It has nothing to do with anybody else. I feel more connected standing out on a cliff at the ocean, or deep in the woods, than I would ever feel inside of a building, right? And so these things, we don't need anything outside of ourselves, whether it's a substance, other people, books, whatever. That's not. It's the inside. The outside stuff, it can help us. We can learn from things like books, for instance, or people, teachers, but that's not what gives us the connection. That's an inner job, right? Not an outer job. So that's my spiel. I have a lot of passionate feelings about using substances, and instead of using your own heart and your own soul to connect to your highest good. I could get on a soapbox and talk for hours, but I will stop now. You have a wonderful day, and I love you, and I hope this was helpful, and I hope that you tap into your creativity and your new abilities, or use the abilities you have in a new way to live your heart's desire. Bye.